Well, good afternoon, LinkedIn Live. Welcome to Learning from Leaders. Today, we're excited to welcome to the TurnKey Lender family our newest partner, Michelle Katics, co-founder and CEO of BankersLab. Michelle, welcome to LinkedIn Live. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Michelle, please tell us a little bit about yourself, and more importantly, to the audience, and share the story of BankersLab with us.
Sure. Well, I guess the three of us co-founders, you might say, were recovering bankers. and we started BankersLab really as the type of co-founders who were trying to solve our own problem. And what we saw is that in the financial industry, especially in retail lending, you make lending decisions and it can take a couple of years to see what the outcomes are. Or even if you change some kind of strategy or underwriting criteria, it takes time to see those results. So the challenge is it literally takes a lifetime to see all those outcomes and really learn. So we saw that by using simulations, so if you can simulate something, hit the enter key and immediately see what would happen in 2 years to have that crystal ball. It's really powerful, and it's powerful, yes, for training, but also for those healthy strategy discussions that need to happen. So hence BankersLab was born.
So you would say that's really the driving force behind starting BankersLab.
Exactly. And when you step back and look at especially retail, consumer, and small business lending, those portfolios have so many things going on under the hood in terms of the customer behaviors, the market impacts, et cetera. And really to get those insights, we need more powerful tools for people. You can't, I think it's really unfair to expect people to look at 100 pages of MIS and pick that up. Some people can, and hat tip to them, but I am not one of those people.
Nice. Hence the reason for BankersLab.
That's right.
So now that we know a little bit about you and the company, walk us through what a simulation would look like. Say you're a manufacturing client that just onboarded TurnKey Lender software. What would this training provided by BankersLab look like?
Well, imagine that you were a solar panel manufacturer and you decided to start financing the sale of those solar panels to keep it all under one roof. And you're going to launch that lending portfolio. So BankersLab comes in, we put you into a virtual world, a simulated lending environment, and we let you play around with different parameters and go through your what-if experiments. So in the case of a solar panel company, it's about credit risk. That's certainly an issue, but they also have to consider other factors in their environment, such as the risk of the distributor or the technical plan that will drive whether people can repay if the project was successful. So it allows them to look at all of that together, kind of step back, figure out what their risk appetite is, figure out the relative, impact of those drivers, and they walk away ready to, let's say, go to the TurnKey Lender platform and implement that strategy. They come out as a team having a clear insight into the drivers of the portfolio, and then how to implement them in the live environment.
Oh, that's fantastic. That really is it's an amazing story from, when we first started here today, and then looking back to when we first met and then, onboarding. But let's talk about the evolution of this discussion and what do trends look like. As a leader in the FinTech market, what trends are you seeing right now that our audience would be excited to hear about, especially the advances that you're looking forward to in digital transformation?
These are indeed exciting times, Kevin, and we're really happy to see TurnKey Lender right at the forefront of those trends. So that part is really exciting for us. And look, I am the first person to kind of ignore trends when they're in the hype phase. So I feel like I maybe have a personal trait of almost blocking them out. So even years and years ago, everybody's going on about big data. I was like, yeah, talk to me when we actually implement this. Yeah, talk to me when this is going to be feasible, plug and play in terms of accessing the data and putting it into a decision. So I admit that I do tend to maybe ignore those trends until they come to the forefront. And I would say the time has come. And what we're seeing in terms of big data and open banking, I mean, it's really exciting because it's plug and play now. And lenders can ingest really rich open data sources such as checking and savings account transactions and convert that into an actionable insight such as an income estimation and drop it right into their underwriting process in a pretty graceful way. So it's not just the trends, but I mean, the thing is that it's implementable now. And so for us, on the simulation side, we're focused on, adding new modules and functionalities in order to add that to the virtual simulation environment, which, these days is really relevant for people to figure out how to play with all the new toys.
Yeah, so BankersLab really is helping expedite all these new features and functionalities for the plug and play business model.
Absolutely. And I think aside from that big data trend, I think the other trend that's important to keep your eye on, both for incumbent lenders and for everybody else, is, part of TurnKey Lender being a part of this trend of really dropping the barriers to entry to lending and making an ease of use of setting up a lending platform. So that's why that solar company can now call you guys and say, hey, we want to launch a lending portfolio. Gone are the days of saying, we need $5 million to implement the smallest system because we need it on premises and we need a couple mainframes and this and that. So they can just call you guys and say, hey, you're in the cloud, let's go, we're ready to launch. So I think the disintermediation of the tools is a very important trend, which means for BankersLab, we have upped our game to address players in the market who are new to lending, such as insurance companies, manufacturers, et cetera, and ensuring the simulation is fit for purpose for their vertical. But at the same time, when incumbent lenders want to integrate new tools, we're also there to help them simulate that.
It's a very demanding business that you have with BankersLab, especially with what you offer to every industry that's out there, because you're not limited by verticals. So
yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, the simulation platform is so configurable that for us to add in something like the example of the solar panels and integrating an evaluation of a technical plan, et cetera, no problem. Really, it's all about working with people. That business strategy is often, the toughest part to make sure you get that right when you launch a portfolio.
Absolutely. When you look at the evolution of BankersLab and the team that's behind it, which has been an absolute pleasure to be working with and looking forward to the future, what was it about TurnKey Lender that attracted BankersLab to partnering with us?
Well, there's a fun backstory there, Kevin, which is that back this is, I don't know how many years ago, in Singapore, shout out to the UOB FinLab, which was one of these bank accelerators. At the time, I was a mentor for that program because UOB was our client and, we wanted to do our part to help them with the accelerator, and it's fun and to stay involved and supportive with the ecosystem. And up show Elena and Dimitri from Europe saying, we're trying to get into this accelerator. So as their mentor, it was so much fun because when they arrived, I was like, oh, these are my people. and when I say that, I said, these are my people because they came from that geeky risk management, deep, this kind of data analytics background that our team has. So, their solution really spoke to me. And, years ago, you could see this disintermediation coming. So it was just cool to see, kind of like the good guys win. Maybe I don't know if Elena and Dimitri will appreciate this characterization, but yay, the geeks won.
Well, we'll be sure to pass that on, But
I say that with all respect and love to say, well, we're geeks too, so we see it in a very good way.
Absolutely, right? We stick together. That is a tremendous story, and when you really think about how something like that can materialize into all of a sudden evolving into a partnership, it's one that we're certainly blessed to have. And, we appreciate you and the rest of the Bankers Lab team. There's really no doubt you're leading the way, Michelle, right? And this is I know from my days working on Wall Street and supporting a lot of financial institutions many years ago, a solution like Bankers Lab was always talked about, but nobody pulled the trigger to do it. And that's why I was very excited when we first met, saying, yeah, I'm all on board with this. We always like to hear from our thought leaders like yourself on what advice would you give to someone starting out in this industry and looking to make a change into the FinTech or digital transformation space?
So many things. Well, first of all, on a personal note, and not everybody's really wants to hear this suggestion, you got to go play around with the toys. So even in our workshops, we're always suggesting to people, if you already haven't put TransferWise, or now it's called Wise, on your phone, put yourself through their onboarding process. Understand how the OnFido solution works, where you take a photo of your driver's license. So have you actually yourself as a user gone through a straight through process or STP onboarding process to just see how it works from the user perspective? Have you set up a digital bank account to see what that looks like, to see, a Revolut or a product like that, to see how that user experience is game changing, and to see from the user side what that tech looks like? I do find it sometimes frustrating that, yes, I appreciate that at our age, maybe you've had that bank account for a long time, and God bless you if you're loyal, but at some point you need to go out and see how this stuff works. There's so much stuff happening, so that, let's say they're looking at a solution like TurnKey Lender, what does that look like on the user side to have that, straight through processing onboarding, to have those real-time decisions that go back out to the user, and what's the impact of that. So I'm always encouraging people, just go and play with the stuff. And yes, I've had some people whine about, I don't want to give up my personal data, but at some point, pick products that you actually want to use based on the reviews and play around with them. I think is something I encourage everybody to do. I'm always surprised at how little people do this, to see the user products, and to see the impact of what's under the hood. And I think the second piece of advice I have is, be watching all these LinkedIn Live, and there's so much really cool content and reports and everything happening. We do our best at BankersLab, and I know you guys at TurnKey too. Not just post about ourselves. It's not about us. We try to post educational content. Here's the latest innovations. Here's what's happening. You're going to have to spend some time just reading and investing in your own knowledge to try. It's our full-time job, and we have a hard time keeping up. So my heart goes out to people who have a full-time job and they want to transition, because there's a lot going on out there today, isn't there, Kevin?
Without a doubt. And how I see Bankers Lab is that you are really empowering not just companies like TurnKey Lender, but also the client base, because you're now putting the opportunity at the fingertips for people like me to actually walk through what the customer experience is going to be like, or what the partner experience would be like. And for that is an invaluable experience that we can forever be grateful for Bankers Lab and what you are spearheading today. So really, thank you so much for that.
It's definitely something that we enjoy a lot. And I think for us, just this last 6 to 12 months, I feel like we've seen just a real ramp up, not just of the tech, but the implementations, the live use cases. Like the rubber's really hitting the road now on digital banking and all these new solutions. So it's now the fun gets to begin.
And when you have technology offered like this, and everything is at your fingertips, and you're expediting plug and play, the demands become that much greater, where you're not just thinking of specific infrastructure and rollout. you got to be thinking of several different types of rollouts at the same time. And BankersLab is certainly affording the clients and partners the ability to overcoming those with relative ease. So thank you. Appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And, I'd like to, at this time, again, thank Michelle for taking the time out of her very busy schedule and meeting with us. But we'd like to open the floor to questions from the audience. Okay. Well, Michelle, thank you so much again for your time. I look forward to our next meeting, which I believe is next week, and looking forward to further growing the relationship with BankersLab and helping you be as successful as you are going to help us. So thank you again.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks a lot from BankersLab to the team at TurnKey Lending, not just the co-founders who always remain near and dear to our heart with our personal connection, but your team has really brought just an enthusiasm and a strength and an insight into the market, which brings a lot to bear. So from our side, thank you, and I'm sure from the market for you guys for bringing really powerful plug-and-play tools to people, which will certainly be game-changing for many in the industry. So thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. Well, thank you again, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, and enjoy the big weekend coming up, and we'll be talking soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kevin.